It started with a photograph. Not the romantic kind, not a memory frozen in joy. No, this one showed up like an uninvited guest at a funeral. Awkward, out of place, and yet impossible to ignore. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays are harmless. Mondays take the blame, Wednesdays get the sympathy, but Tuesday? That's the polite kid in the class who never causes trouble. And yet, this particular Tuesday decided to burn my whole life down in high definition. I was sipping black coffee at my desk, the kind that tastes like betrayal if brewed 1 minute too long, when my phone buzzed. No name, just a number. No message, just a photo. I tapped it open, expecting some misdialed nonsense or a meme from a bored coworker. But instead, I found myself staring at my wife. Caroline. My Caroline. Only, she wasn't alone. And she sure as hell wasn't wearing her wedding ring. The photo had no context, but it didn't need any. Her smile was too soft. Her eyes were locked on someone just outside the frame. There was an intimacy to it, the kind you can't fake and shouldn't have with anyone who's not your husband. And the worst part? It was taken in our kitchen. My kitchen, where I'd made her pancakes on her birthday, where we'd argued about backsplash tiles and eventually agreed that navy was classy but bold. I zoomed in, hoping for some plausible excuse, some photographic glitch. But denial only has so many miles in the tank. So I stared. Let the coffee grow cold. Let the hum of the office fade into background static. Eventually, my coworker Brian walked by and said, "You good, man? You look like you saw a ghost." Close. What I saw was something much worse. A woman who looked exactly like my wife, standing in my house, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. I didn't reply, just nodded, stood up, and walked out. No excuses, no explanations. That was the moment the truth started unzipping its disguise. It's funny how love stories always begin with light. Candlelight. Fireworks. That stupid golden hour glow people post on Instagram. Ours began in fluorescent. I met Caroline under the soul-sucking lights of a corporate conference room during a 3-day financial compliance seminar. Nothing screams romance like tax law and a bad continental breakfast. She was the keynote speaker, brilliant, articulate, and way too charismatic for a room full of people pretending not to fall asleep. She wore a green blazer and a smile that could talk you into committing to a gym membership and donating your kidney in the same breath. After her talk, I complimented her presentation. She said, "Thanks, but if I hear the word regulation one more time, I'm jumping out the window." I laughed. She didn't. "I'm serious," she added. "You better save me with a drink after this." So I did. That drink turned into 2, then dinner, then standing outside the hotel bar in the rain talking about everything from the stock market to whether pineapple belonged on pizza. It does. She's wrong. I told myself she was special. She told me I was steady, reliable. That sounded like a compliment at the time. A year later, we got married in a vineyard just outside Santa Barbara. Vows were exchanged, tears were shed, and people clapped like they actually believed in forever. Even my dad, the man who once called love a stock with poor returns, looked at us like maybe we'd beaten the odds. We bought a fixer-upper, spent weekends arguing over curtain rods and color swatches. It felt like building something real. Like home. For a while, it was good. Comfortable. Predictable. She'd hum while brushing her teeth. I'd leave little notes in her lunch. She said I made her feel safe. I said she made me feel alive. But over time, the humming stopped. The lunches went uneaten. And I started to feel like the safety net she kept looking to climb out of. I should have noticed the signs. Her phone face down on the table. The sudden interest in jogging. At 6 a.m., when she once said she'd rather take up synchronized drowning than run a mile. The perfume she never wore for me. But I didn't look too hard. Because when you're in love, you wear blinders. And I wore mine with pride. Turns out, while I was building a home, Caroline was installing an escape hatch. It was a Saturday. One of those lazy, golden Saturdays where the air feels like a warm blanket and the world forgets to be in a rush. Caroline told me she had a work brunch. Some team-building thing with her department. I offered to drive her. She said she'd Uber. Said I didn't need to wait up. Said I'd be bored. Said a lot, now that I think about it. So instead of questioning her, I did what I always did, trusted her. I stayed home, mowed the lawn, cleaned the gutters, fixed that squeaky drawer in the kitchen she'd been complaining about for weeks. At noon, I got a text from my buddy Eli. Just a photo. No caption. And there she was, Caroline. Not at brunch. Not with coworkers. Not in anything that resembled team building. She was seated outside a quaint little cafe across town, laughing. But not the polite, work-appropriate chuckle. No, this was full volume, head-thrown-back laughter, the kind she used to save for me. Across the table sat a man I'd never seen before. Scruffy beard, sleeve tattoos, leaning in like he'd already been invited into every corner of her life. I stared at the screen like it owed me an explanation. My phone buzzed again. Eli, didn't want to be the one to tell you. But that's the third weekend I've seen her with this guy. Third. Not first. Not maybe. Third. The air left the room. I didn't call her. Didn't text. I just watched. Waited. Let the silence do what truth often does best, stand very, very still. She got home around 3, hair slightly wind-blown, smelling like unfamiliar cologne and lies. I was sitting in the living room when she walked in, still carrying that fake brunch energy like a dog bringing home a dead bird. "Oh hey," she said, upbeat, unbothered. "You wouldn't believe the traffic." I looked up from my book. "What's his name?" The smile cracked. Her mouth opened. Closed. Something shifted in her eyes, like she'd just realized the play was over and the audience had been watching the whole time. "Logan," she said quietly. "His name is Logan." And there it was. The name. The final nail in the illusion. Funny how a two-syllable word can feel like a wrecking ball. "You love him?" I asked. Not because I wanted to know, but because I needed to hear her say it. Her silence was louder than a yes. I nodded, stood up, walked into the kitchen, opened the drawer I'd just fixed, and laughed. Not a joyful laugh. Not even bitter. Just hollow. "You know," I said, "I fixed that drawer for you today. You've been complaining about it for months." Guess I should have known. Nothing squeaky ever gets your attention unless it walks in with a beard and a motorcycle. She didn't respond. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked me to, but because the bed already felt like it belonged to someone else. And as I lay there, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like a slow clock, I made myself a promise. She thought the story ended here. She was wrong. The next morning, the sun came up like it always does, shameless and different. It lit the living room where I'd slept, illuminating the half-empty wine glass on the coffee table and the silence between walls that used to hold laughter. Caroline didn't say a word. Not that morning. Not that week. We passed each other like ghosts in a house that used to feel like home. Her affair had gone from secret to spoken, and now it lived with us, sat at the dinner table, loitered in the hallways, crawled under the sheets like a third party in a dead marriage. I didn't ask questions. I didn't make demands. And that scared her more than yelling ever could have. Because silence means calculation. And I was calculating. I started with the basics, his last name. Logan Harper. I dug it out of a half-finished text on her laptop. Her mistake. Really. She thought I'd be too proud or too broken to snoop. What she forgot was, betrayal doesn't just change how you feel. It changes who you are. I wasn't the trusting husband anymore. I was a man with time, motive, and internet access. Logan was easy to find. The guy had a public Instagram full of gym selfies, motorcycle shots, and inspirational quotes. "Real men protect what's theirs" was a personal favorite. Caroline had liked nearly every photo. She even commented on one. That back. Fire. Charming. But the goldmine wasn't on his page, it was in the tags. That's where I found his business, Harper Performance Garage. Custom cars, muscle rebuilds, and aggressive performance detailing, whatever that meant. He had a modest following and a 5-star Google rating. He also had a weakness. A partner named Derek. Derek, bless his caffeinated soul, loved to tweet. About the shop, about customer complaints, about Logan's God complex. One tweet from 2 months ago said, "Logan forgot to torque the wheels on that Charger. Hope dude doesn't hit the freeway too hard, lol." Bingo. I wasn't going to break the law. No slashed tires or sugar in the gas tank. I wanted to break something more important. Reputation. I booked an appointment. Under a fake name, Ethan Maxwell. Used a burner email. Said I wanted my '67 Mustang tuned and detailed. Told them I'd be in town for a few weeks, that I was willing to pay top dollar for urgent service. Derek replied within the hour. Friday. Noon. I pulled up to the shop in a rental, sunglasses on, watching from a distance as Logan strutted out in a black T2 sizes too small. He was everything I imagined, overconfident, underread, and built like a man who judged success by the decibel of his engine. He didn't recognize me. Not yet. Inside, the walls were lined with metal and testosterone. Engine parts, Posters of women with wrench sets and six-packs. Real subtle stuff. Derek handled the paperwork while Logan inspected the car. "You're in good hands," Derek said. "Logan's one of the best in the state." "I'll bet," I replied, deadpan. Logan didn't even look up. "I'll have it ready by next Friday." "Perfect," I said. "Oh, and one more thing." He turned to me, finally making eye contact. Something flickered in his gaze, uncertainty. Recognition scratching at the door. "You're Logan Harper, right?" I asked. "Yeah," he said cautiously. "I've heard a lot about you." I smiled. Not warm, not cold, just enough to let him know something was off. Then I left. The second phase of the plan was riskier, but more satisfying. Remember that cafe where Caroline and Logan had their little secret brunches? I went back, ordered the same drink, sat at the same table. This time, I brought company. Her name was Ava, and she was a friend of mine from college, a journalist who owed me a favor and had zero patience for men like Logan. I filled her in. She laughed. "So you want a reverse honeypot?" "No seduction," I said. "Just curiosity and a camera." Ava strolled into the shop a few days later wearing aviators, a leather jacket, and the kind of smirk that makes egos lean in too far. She claimed she needed help with her brother's Camaro. Logan, predictably, offered to take a personal look. She let him talk, let him brag, let him step right into his own trap. Because what Logan didn't know was that Ava had a voice recorder tucked inside her purse and a discreet camera pin on her lapel. And when he started name-dropping a married woman who keeps begging for it but doesn't want to leave her husband, Ava kept him talking with casual nods and occasional, strategic flattery. By the end of their 5-minute chat, she had enough footage to ruin him professionally and enough dirt to show Caroline exactly what her chiseled distraction thought of her when she wasn't in the room. I didn't show her the recording. Not yet. Instead, I started leaving small notes around the house. Not angry ones. Not even accusatory. Just reminders. A photo of our wedding day, left beside her coffee mug with a sticky note that read, "Remember this?" A printout of Logan's Yelp page slipped into her briefcase. A screenshot of a text she sent him, placed on her pillow. He's clueless. One by one, I returned her little acts of deception with carefully crafted messages of my own. Subtle, precise, chilling in their calm. And finally, I left one more note, taped to the mirror. It read, "Are you ready to see how far I'll go?" I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. That night, she didn't come home. And I didn't wait up. Caroline didn't come home that night. No text. No call. Not even a fabricated excuse about working late or staying with a friend. The silence was loud and calculated. She thought I'd chase her. That I'd call, beg, maybe plead for some clarity like a confused husband in a romantic drama. She really didn't know me at all. Instead, I made tea. Sat on the porch. Watched the streetlights hum to life one by one. There was a certain peace in it, knowing the person who broke you thinks you're still in pieces. The thing about heartbreak is, once it cracks, it gets quiet. Not soft, not gentle. Just still. And in stillness, I move best. The next morning, I cleaned the house. Not in the metaphorical sense. No brooding, no dramatic donation piles. I actually cleaned. Scrubbed the sink. Vacuumed the carpets. Windexed the windows so clearly you'd think I was prepping for a home listing. I needed the place to look perfect for what came next. Caroline came back 2 days later. No key in the door, just a hesitant knock, like she wasn't sure if she still belonged here. I didn't rush to answer. I took a long sip of coffee, let her wait in her own silence for a beat too long. Then I opened the door. She stood there in yoga pants and a hoodie that didn't belong to me. Hair up, sunglasses on, like she wanted to hide in plain sight. That was new. Caroline never hid. "I didn't want it to be like this," she said. "Sure you did," I replied calmly. "You just didn't want to be the bad guy." Her jaw tightened. She didn't deny it. I stepped aside. "Come in. You've got 10 minutes. She walked in slowly, glancing around the spotless living room like she was looking for signs of rage. Torn photos. Shattered glass. A duffel bag on the porch. But there was nothing. Just the same house. Same air. Only now it wasn't hers. "I needed space to think," she began, easing onto the edge of the couch like it might bite her. "Things have been complicated. Let me save you some breath," I said, sitting across from her. "You're in love with him. Or at least the version of him you've built in your head. He makes you feel new. Alive. Dangerous. Like you're not the boring wife in the tidy house anymore." She blinked, caught off guard. "That's not it." "It is," I cut in. "You want the thrill without the fallout. The excitement without the responsibility. But here's the thing, Caroline. I leaned in, elbows on my knees. You set this fire. And now I'm just letting it burn. She looked away, then back. Her voice softened. Do you still love me? Does it matter? I don't know, she whispered. I guess I hoped. Don't hope, I said. Hope's for people who haven't read the ending. I stood, walked to the kitchen, grabbed an envelope from the drawer. It was thick, heavy with truth. Before you go, I said, handing it to her. Some light reading. She opened it slowly. The top sheet was a printout of Logan's Yelp page with the latest review highlighted. Sloppy work. Ignored torque specs. Dangerous mistakes. Below that, the timestamped transcript of the voice recording Ava had captured. Logan talking about her like a conquest. A side quest. A detour on the way to something better. He'd called her good for now. Said she was addicted to chaos. Laughed about how easy it was to pull her away from her paper pusher husband. Her face drained of color. I handed her a flash drive. Videos on there. In case you want to hear it for yourself. She didn't move. I trusted you, I said. That was my first mistake. She looked up at me, eyes wet but proud. You planned this? You were collecting evidence? No, I said. At first, I was just surviving. Then I realized the only way out was through. So I adapted. She stood, hands shaking slightly. You're not the man I married. No, I agreed. That man would have forgiven you. Later that evening, she sent a text. Just 3 words. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. Because sorry is a receipt, not a refund. And I wasn't interested in store credit. The next week, I made some moves of my own. I met with a lawyer. Told him I wanted things clean. Fast. Unemotional. Any kids involved? He asked. No, I replied. Just a woman who thought I'd be too polite to fight back. We drew up papers. I kept the house, the car, the accounts. Caroline had signed a prenup back when she thought love was enough. Turns out, foresight is the one gift I gave myself. The lawyer asked if I wanted to pursue damages for infidelity. No, I said. That would make this personal. He raised an eyebrow. It's not. I smiled. It's business now. 2 weeks passed like a long exhale. Caroline moved out on a Thursday. No dramatic exit, no big speech. Just a cardboard box parade and a lift idling out front. She left behind some shoes, a half-used bottle of conditioner, and, interestingly, her wedding ring placed on the windowsill in the kitchen like it was trying to catch one last sunset. I didn't touch it. Not because I was sentimental. Because it was bait. You see, I wasn't after revenge. Not the way movies sell it, with fire, chaos, and men shouting into rainstorms. No, I was after clarity. Something clean, permanent, legal, and poetic. That's where the insurance came in. Not literal insurance, though I had updated my policy the week after she left, but the kind of assurance you keep in a folder marked, just in case. The photos from the cafe? Printed. The text I pulled from her iCloud backup? Archived. The business documents showing Logan's shady cash-only deals and unpaid taxes? Double-checked. And then there was Ava's audio recording, neatly trimmed, cleaned up, and backed onto 5 USB drives, one of which I mailed to Logan's landlord. Because nothing speeds up an eviction like bad press and unpaid rent. On a rainy Monday, I sent Caroline a text. Me. Lunch? One final olive branch. Your choice of place. She took the bait in 10 minutes. Maybe she wanted closure. Maybe she wanted control. Or maybe she hadn't yet figured out the game had flipped, and I was holding every piece on the board. We met at the kind of place she used to love. Wooden tables, overpriced tea, servers who acted like reading the menu aloud was performance art. She wore that same black coat I once bought her for Christmas. The collar was popped, and she looked smaller in it than I remembered. You look good, she said. Healthy dose of sleep and spite, I replied. It's a powerful combination. She smirked, but there was a nervous twitch in her fingers. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything. I nodded like I cared. Let her talk. I know I made a mess. And I'm not asking to undo it. But I guess I hoped you'd be willing to talk like human beings. Not lawyers. There it was. The tell. She didn't want lawyers involved. She wanted to control the narrative. Smooth it over. Keep her image clean. That was always her thing, clean. But I'd stopped playing her game 2 moves ago. I don't mind lawyers, I said, sipping my coffee. Mine's efficient. Likes bullet points. And he thinks I'm getting a really good deal. Her eyes narrowed. You're not going to make this ugly, are you? I leaned in. Caroline, You made it ugly. I'm just documenting the beauty of the aftermath. Later that night, I sent her the final card in the deck. An email. Subject, one last look. Attached, a screenshot of Logan's garage website, now with 3 new 1-star reviews, a formal complaint filed with the Better Business Bureau, and a freeze notice from the IRS, courtesy of a quiet whistleblower tip from a concerned former client. Also attached, a PDF of her texts, emails, and timestamps. Labeled. Indexed. Final line of the email. Every secret you buried has a shovel with your name on it. And I'm not even swinging yet. I didn't hear from her for days after that. Instead, I heard from Logan. He showed up. Middle of the afternoon, right as I was mowing the lawn. Pulled up in a rusted-out Dodge Charger with a cracked bumper and a license plate that said "Gossiped." Of course, he stepped out like a man who thinks intimidation still works after Google reviews say otherwise. "You think this is funny?" he asked, voice tight, chest puffed like a bad audition for a bouncer role. "I killed the mower." "No, I think it's fair." He stepped closer. "You ruined my shop, call the IRS, send my landlord some BS." "Truth isn't BS," I said calmly. "It's just inconvenient." He paused, the gears in his skull visibly grinding. "I should hit you. You should call your lawyer," I replied. "Assaulting me while standing on my property? I don't what's left of your muffler shop by Tuesday." Logan sneered. "You don't scare me. You don't matter to me," I corrected. "But you mattered to her. And she mattered to me. And now," I leaned in, just close enough to puncture whatever posturing he was clinging to. "She's radioactive. You just don't realize you're already glowing." He stared at me for another second, then stormed off without another word. I watched him leave like a man watches the trash truck pull away. Loud, pointless, but necessary. That night, Caroline sent one last message. Her, "You really think this will make you feel better?" Me, "No, but it makes things even." And then I walk away clean. Because that was the part she never understood. This wasn't about rage. It was about reset. I stopped checking for her texts after that. It was liberating. Like the first deep breath after you've been underwater too long, burns a little, but it means you're alive. The house felt lighter without her perfume lingering in the halls. The closet, once packed with shared compromises and seasonal maybes, was now half empty and honest. My dinners got quieter, but the silence stopped echoing. It just existed. Like peace often does. I sold her engagement ring online. Not out of spite, just efficiency. Put the cash toward a new espresso machine. The first cup I made tasted like closure. And I wasn't just healing. I was building. I reconnected with old friends. Took up boxing again, something I'd shelved years ago under no time, and she doesn't like the bruises. Turns out, I miss the rhythm of discipline. The focus. The power of choosing your pain rather than inheriting it. I didn't just get stronger. I got precise. Caroline's world was unraveling in slow motion. Logan dumped her, not with a breakup speech, but with a passive-aggressive Instagram post about dodging bullets and mascara. Classy guy. Her circle of friends? Gone. Turns out, people have a funny way of stepping back when the drama smells like gasoline and guilt. The women she once laughed with at wine tastings now barely replied to her messages. She moved into a short-term rental on the other side of town. Nothing fancy. Beige walls, bad Wi-Fi, and too much time to think. Her job? Let's just say HR has a different definition of integrity, especially when your affair starts becoming the office's favorite whisper. I didn't have to lift a finger. I'd already done the work. And life? Life was good. I wasn't happy yet, but I was free. And that, I'd learned, was a better foundation. 6 months passed. I sent her a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A real, printed, folded, envelope-sealed letter. Because some messages need to weigh something in your hand. It read, "Caroline, this is not revenge. This is a receipt. For the time, the loyalty, the love I gave you without conditions. For the nights I defended you to people who already knew. For the mornings I woke up and chose us when you were already choosing someone else. You left more than a marriage behind. You left the version of yourself that I was proud to fight for. And maybe you thought I'd stay in the wreckage, crawling through the pieces like some heartbroken archaeologist. But I didn't. I built something new. Without you. You gave me the gift of truth, ugly, bare, and unforgiving. And I turned it into armor. Don't reply. Don't call. There's nothing here for you anymore. Sincerely. The man who learned how to let go." I never heard from her again. That was the point. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cinematic. It didn't end with a slap or a scream or some thunderstorm showdown in a parking lot. It ended with me standing on the balcony of my new apartment, smaller, but mine, sipping coffee, watching the world spin without her. My revenge? I lived. I thrived. And I did it without needing to become bitter. I let the truth break the illusion instead of breaking me. That's the cruelest kind of closure, to be completely okay when they expect you to shatter. I still pass the cafe sometimes. Logan's shop? Closed down. The building's been turned into a dog grooming place. Fitting, honestly. And Caroline? Last I heard, she's working remotely for a company in a different state. Still trying to restart the game from square one, pretending like none of it happened. But me? I don't pretend. I just live in the aftermath like a man who won the war by walking away from it. And I sleep well, because I know I played it clean. I let her dig her own hole, and then I simply stepped aside. That's the story. 10 parts. No violence. No drama. Just a man who was buried, and then built a monument on top of it. With peace. And a damn good espresso machine.